The favorite is the player on the play. I think Jeskai Tokens has a slight natural edge, but that is dwarfed by how significant the die roll is, because both of these decks are so much better at playing offense than playing defense.
Temple of Triumph is where we will begin here for Klomparens. A little scry action, pass it back over to Mann. Mann draws a copy of Temple of Enlightenment as round number 10 is underway here from Columbus. Favorite Hoplite will start things off.
A big swing card in this matchup, too, is Seeker of the Way. That's a card that allows either player to really race the other player, even if they may be slightly behind on the board.
Saw a mountain there from Jadine, so no blue mana just yet. Could have access to raise the alarm on this particular turn. I think if she had a lightning strike, probably would have killed favorite Hoplite straight away.
Yeah, not a lot to be gained by getting fancy against White-Blue Heroic. You just want to kill stuff while they're tapped out, because once the shields are up, there's a whole lot of defensive measures that can go wrong.
Man going to play a copy of Manic Influence, take a point of damage right away, so he's down to 19. And play an Aqueous Form and trigger Heroic. So Hoplite will become a 2/3, and it's unblockable now. A little scry action here from Aqueous Form. And we've seen when we watch Mann play, very, very patient with how he plays this deck. Picking his spots very, very well. Started the tournament off 8-0, lost his match to be the lone 9-0, lost to Christopher O'Brien. Christopher O'Brien is our only 9-0 coming into the day.
Though this might be a matchup where Steven needs to take some more risks, just because time is not on his side. The game is going to be turned in a very short space. And so you're going to see both players, I think, tap out more frequently than they otherwise would like to, take some more risks, because you could just die with cards in your hand in this matchup.
Copy Defiant Strike at the end of turn is going to make favorite Hoplite a little bit bigger. You saw Jadine play a Goblin Rabble Master, so the Goblin token will come across. Man is down to 18 at this point. Tie game as we head into the third turn.
Though Rabble Master is also a significant threat against White-Blue Heroic because they don't have much in the way of creature removal, and an uncontested Rabble Master can add up to a ton of damage.
At this time,
Man, going to take a little while here to think about his third turn of the game. It's going to be kind of quick back and forth given Jadine's draw. Rabble Master is going to put the pressure on Steven right away. We'll see how he can handle that, and if he wants to race in this situation, given that his creature is unblockable.
get started collecting the deck lists that you have in front of you ready for them.
Racing a Rabble Master against a deck with this much burn, though, not an easy thing to do.
Deck list has
Very risky, to say the least.
to get up. Wait until you have turned in your deck list to do so. Your pairings will be posted in just
Manic Influence going to deal another point of damage, and there's a copy of Hero of Eros. Another point of damage. So these Manic Influences may come back to hurt Steven a little bit. Here's a copy of Stratus Walk. That'll trigger a Heroic. That'll also draw a card.
Plus, it is now both flying and unblockable.
Very difficult to take.
That is a combo.
Yes. A little scry action here from Aqueous Form. Man, gonna think for a moment here about what he wants to do with the top card of his deck. Scrying, always a difficult skill.
This is a risky turn here for Steven here, because if his hero dies on Jadine's turn, he's looking at a lot of damage.
Yeah. But it's clear he doesn't want to slow down. He wants to maybe race here.
Again, this is the nature of the matchup. Both of these decks much better at being on the aggressive than being on defense. And so even though I'm sure Steven would like to kind of turtle up here for a little while, slow the game down, because it doesn't look like the damage race favors him against a Rabble Master and two of his lands being Manic Influence, he really doesn't have a choice. His cards don't let him do anything other than attack.
Well, damage is dealt, scry is done. We're going to head back Jadine's way. See what she can put together on the fourth turn of the game. Does have a Rabble Master and a Goblin token out there. Man is tapped out, so pretty clear, you know, he's got the hero that can block. We'll see if Jadine has a way to get that off of the table.
And it's interesting if she has something like Jeskai Charm, does she just use it on the hero and race, or does she reset the favorite Hoplite? Maybe trade the Rabble Master off for the hero.
Perhaps not even attack with the Rabble Master at all.
A lot of options.
Yeah. There's 3 mana. There's a copy of Wardling Outburst. So 3 goblins going to come in. Perhaps working your way towards Stoke the Flames. That's what it looks like it's going to be. Yep, that'll take care of the hero. And this is what you were probably afraid of if you were Steven.
The creatures in the Jeskai token deck, I think, are often the underperformers relative to the spells, the token generating effects, the ascendancy, and so forth. This is a matchup where it's a little bit different. The creatures are excellent because White-Blue Heroic can't really get them off the table. And both creatures, Goblin Rabblemaster and Seeker of the Way, swing the damage rate so much that when you have one on the play, that could be enough to determine the outcome of the game.
Looks like Mann is behind now. And the difficult thing here for Steven, too, is, one thing that this white-blue heroic deck kind of lacks is the ability to gain life.
It's really Ordeal of Heliod. That's the only card you're looking at. And Seeker of the Way.
You think of an aura-esque deck, you think of something like Armadillo Cloak or Unflinching Courage, suit up my creature that way and give you the beatdowns, but it doesn't really exist in this particular deck.
Most of those decks, as you mentioned, historically have had that kind of effect because they can't fill their deck with creature removal. That's the way they have to race. They can't contain the board, so they have to gain life and hope that they can win a short game.
Mann is getting into the red zone, however. Holding back's really not going to do him any good, so he's going to come across for 4 points of damage here. See how much he can deal. Aqua's Form of Course is going to make everything unblockable. Defiant Strike, will trigger Heroic and also deal another point of damage. Here of Iroas is the draw off of Defiant Strike. So 6 damage is going to come across. Klomparens is going to go down to 8, and looks like Mann's going to have to take 2 points of damage here. We'll start by playing a Temple of Enlightenment. Little scry action yet again. Top card looks like it's going to become the bottom card. Now here's a hero. He'll have to take 2, go down to 8 to cast it. Pass the turn back, try to block this Rabblemaster.
Well, I don't like his odds. No two ways about it.
Yeah. The red zone we go. There's the block. Here's the burn spell. That'll take care of it. Jadine Klomparens is going to win game number 1 here against Steven Mann. Jeskai Token's up a game here over White Blue Heroic. Goblin Rabblemaster is a powerful card.
Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the creatures in the Jeskai Token decks. I consider them to be more of a necessary evil than a card you actively want, but in this matchup, they're excellent. Also, a good indicator of how much the die roll matters in this matchup. Jadine's first play of the game was a turn 3 Rabblemaster and didn't have removal on turn 2. If she's on the draw, it's likely that start is just too slow to keep up with what Steven Mann was doing. But on the play, it was good enough even though she just passed the second turn.
It is sideboard time. We will start with Steven Mann and his white-blue heroic deck. You see he's already going through things. We've got 2 Treasure Cruisers, 2 Heliod's Pilgrims, an Ordeal of Heliod, Mortar's Ardor, a Mortal Obstinacy. In a race, 2 copies of Stubborn Denial, 3 Glare of Heresy, a Burmasking of Reskos, and an Ajani's Presence. Seems like Ordeal of Heliod's a pretty decent place to start, but I'm not in love with a lot of these options.
I definitely like the 3rd copy. I think Burmaz is pretty well suited for the fight. I think 3 copies of Glare of Heresy is probably too many, but I can see 1 or 2 copies coming in, and I think the Moral Obstinacy is fine here.
On Jadine's side, of course, playing Jeskai Tokens. What does she have over there?
3 Glare of Heresy, 2 Erase, 3 Disdainful Stroke, 3 Anger of the Gods, 3 Burmaz, King of Reskos, 1 copy of Negate. The Negate, 3 copies of Anger of the Gods, the 3 Glare of Heresies, all excellent here. The Burmaz also, even though it's not great for this matchup most likely, because she's bringing Anger of the Gods, nice to have a threat that can survive an Anger.
Yeah, kind of the combo there, Anger of the Gods plus Burmaz, and Anger is... It's pretty good in this matchup.
And Burmaz is not bad generating chump blockers. There are some games where White Blue Heroic really struggles to beat something like Sidisi because just a sea of blockers every turn is really annoying. Burmaz can do something similar.
These players will sideboard up, and we'll get ready for game number 2 here. But while we wait, we will talk about Patrick Chapin's brand new edition of Next Level Magic.
Yeah, some great updates here with new examples, new cards. The book's been sold out in paperback for nearly a year now, so if you're looking to get your copy, you can buy your updated copy right now. Also available on ebook, StarCityGames.com/NLM, order your copy today.
It's like a remastering of CD. Updates, perhaps some things that he left out the first time you can get this time around. It's pretty fantastic stuff. Chapin put a lot of work into this book, and clearly what he does works, as he is a Pro Tour champion and 2nd place at the World Championships, too.
And he is a thorough writer.
Oh, this is true. As someone who does edit his articles for the website.
You do not have to worry about getting your money's worth.
That's correct.
I'll tell you that.
Word count. What word count?
Well, not just word count, but the richness, the depth of the examples.
It's good stuff. Make sure you do check out his fantastic book. And from what I've been told, perhaps a new CD on the way here from Mr. Chapin.
Oh, I've heard some rumblings.
He doesn't want to give away too much, but...
A re-up.
The Gathering. I don't think a remaster edition. Brand new. Brand new EP, perhaps. Steven Mann off to a great start this weekend. Again, was 8-0. Lost his match playing for 9-0 yesterday to Christopher O'Brien, our lone 9-0 on the day. But this trip has certainly been well worth it, making the flight over from Florida.
Oh, yeah, so far a great trip. And Logan Mize, his buddy as well at XM2, both Still definitely in a position to make a run at the top 8.
Yeah, they liked their decks so much. That's why they made the trip out. They love their build of White-Blue Heroic, different than what we have seen from other builds from Joe Lissette and Tom Ross. And you're not going to find any main deck copies of Heliod's Pilgrim here. Only 2 copies of Seeker of the Way, some different one-ofs in the main deck, including a main deck Triton Tactics. No copies of Feat of Resistance. So a much different build here for Mann, but it is clearly working.
Yeah, and there are elements of this deck that I really like. The 4 copies of Stratus Walk in the main deck being a big point of differentiation and something that I like quite a bit. While playing the Tom Ross build, I noticed a lack of just free roll heroic cards besides the Defiant Strikes. So I was getting 2 for Wonder, at least there was that risk quite often. But 4 Defiant Strikes and 4 Stratus Walk means you can start triggering heroic early on without the same risks that the Ordeals and the Aquasis forms come with.
Well, it's game number 2 here, and Mann will be on the play. We'll see what he can put together here. His hand has at least a Flooded Strand. He keeps rather quickly. Jadine will keep as well. We're underway for game number 2. Flooded Strand to start things off. Klomparens with a Mystic Monastery. Mann's going to sacrifice the Strand, go down to 19. It's either an island or a plains he'll be digging up, and he will go with the island.
Interested to see if Stephen Mann has brought in his Stubborn Denials for this matchup too. I could see the effect being very powerful or having 1 mana to spare just not being efficient enough.
Mann will draw. There is a plains and a passing of the turn. See what Jadine can put together for her second turn of the game. Perhaps a Seeker of the Way. That's what it's going to be. So we'll head back Steven's way. Steven does have a copy of Stubborn Denial in his hand, so that card is in his deck at this point. And something we have seen Steven do quite a few times when we've watched him play is play a card like Battle-Wise Hoplite in the 3rd turn of the game with access to something like Stubborn Denial or God's Willing with the additional mana.
He can't just run his creatures into Lightning Strikes. That's a losing recipe here. He needs to protect his scant few threats and try to load them up. So it's worth giving up some mana efficiency early on to protect your few threats.
So he looks at his Battle-Wise Hoplites and his Hero Heroes as 3 mana spells a lot of the time, 2 to actually cast and then 1 to protect, as opposed to just running it out there and crossing your fingers hoping for the best, especially given the texture of his hand currently. I like that play.
Absolutely. I mean, if this Hoplite survives, he's got a really good game plan here.
Let's see what Mann wants to do in his upkeep. Might see him cast a copy of Defiant Strike to get the scry to help his draw, but it looks like he's just going to take the draw, and it is a plains. And Stubborn Denial in his hand, looking to play the role of a hard counter. And he's got 1 creature to work with. It is his Battle-Wise Hoplite, so he's got to make sure he does it right.
Well,
else things could go poorly.
Once he gets his eggs in the basket, it's not really easy for Jadine to get this card off the table. A couple copies of Glare of Heresy in her sideboard, a couple of copies of Jeskai Charm in her main deck, but Steven can answer those with things like God's Willing and Stubborn Denial.
It is a plains. That's land number 4. And the big question is how does he want to move forward here? Mana not really going to be much of an issue. It looks like he's going to lead off with Stratus Walk. That's what he's going to do. So he'll trigger Heroic, which means that, of course, a +1/+1 counter and a Scry here for the Hoplite. Top card very quickly going to become the bottom card, and then he will draw a card off of Stratus Walk. Hero Viros is what he's picked up, so he does have another creature to work with here in case something goes wrong with the Battle-Wise Hoplite.
Though I would be stunned if Steven tapped out this turn for Hero Viros. The game plan here is build this up while leading up mana to protect it, and it looks like Steven's most likely to pass on adding another creature to the board.
You know, getting the red zone for 3. This will be a Raise the Alarm from Klomparens. And Mann will take a look at his hand, the Defiant Strike over there, the Hero, the Stubborn Denial, and the Mana Confluence. So 2 soldiers and a Seeker the way out there for Jadine.
And Stephen Mann has Defiant Strike in his hand, which means at a moment's notice he can pair that with the Stubborn Denial for a Ferocious trigger. So now he has access to a hard counter on spells.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden. Let's see what this is going to be. Oh, there's a Rabble Master. That's something Stubborn Denial cannot take care of. Now this game starts to get a little bit ugly.
Yeah, Jadine definitely conscious of the types of tricks that Steven can have here. If he has counters in his sideboard, it's most likely negates and stubborn denials. So when he has mana available,
yeah, this is going to be attempted Stoke the Flames. Likely going after the Battle-Wise Hoplite. And this is something that Man can easily stubborn denial without even actually having to use the Defiant Strike.
yeah.
So that's nice.
The big issue here is even if Steven does counter it, it's the tempo swing involved here.
Yeah.
Jadine's going to get to attack for 3 points of lifelink damage, deal some damage to Steven here, and also make a play this turn while forcing the stubborn denial out of his hand. So just a very efficient turn from Jadine, even if Steve has an answer here.
Steve going to sacrifice his Flooded Strand, go digging for an island. And actually, it looks as though Stoke is going to the Dome and not the Battle-Wise Hoplite. I'm a little surprised by that, but I suppose Jadine's thought process here is the chances of you having a protection spell are pretty high. So I'm not going to go after your creature, I'm just going to go after you. Here's Defiant Strike. Trigger. This will be the scry for the Battle-Wise Hoplite.
It's possible Jadine's philosophy of this game is, I don't want God's Willing to be a card. With the Stoke the Flames going at Steve, it's basically saying stubborn denial or bust, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong if Jadine targets the Battle-Wise Hoplite instead.
I assumed it was just going to go towards the creature, but this plays a little bit more interesting. Certainly a racing situation now, which I think, again, is where Jadine does kind of want to be in this matchup.
Well, certainly with the creatures in play. I mean, Secret of the Way and Rabble Master give her a pretty big edge when it comes to that sort of game.
A lengthy scry here for Man. Certainly in a tough spot here. He's going to leave it on top. He'll draw his card from Defiant Strike, so that's done resolving. Battle-Wise Hoplite currently a 4/4. And now Man has to give some serious thought to Stubborn Denial here and how he wants to use it, but he's going to take the 4 points of damage. And now here's the attack from the Seeker, so he'll have to take 3 more. And of course, Jadine will gain a little bit of life. So it's 11-20 in favor of Klomparens. Man draws a land for the turn. Now, one card he does have in his hand is Ordeal of Heliod, and that's a big one in this situation.
That's his best tool for racing.
So there's the hero. The follow-up here is a very cheap Ordeal. Trigger, Scry. Gonna leave that on top, so he's happy with what he's found. Now it's Red Zone. Another counter, gain 10 life. He's gonna go up to 21. This will be an attack for 6. Klomparens is gonna go down to 14. Man can follow up with the Plains and a favorite Hoplite, pass the turn back with Stubborn Denial at the ready. So he's not doing bad.
No, but Jadine's board is pretty advanced. And she has quite a few cards in hand still.
Though I think the one thing that Man would be afraid of in this situation is a non-creature spell, which he currently does have covered.
Yes.
Only one covered, though, not multiple.
And if Jadine says, you know, has a 5th mana here especially, she can play 2 threatening spells in one turn. Something like Jeskai Charm plus Glare of Heresy, or Jeskai Ascendancy plus Glare of Heresy. There's some really good turns that she has access to right now.
Yeah, it does make for an interesting situation if she does play Jeskai Ascendancy here this turn, if Man would counter it or if he would hold on to that Stubborn Denial. Ascendancy is such a powerful card, but it probably won't have an immediate impact.
It might just represent too much damage. I mean, right now he's looking at a 2/2 and a 1/2, holding off a variety of 1/1s, and with Ascendancy in play, those blocks no longer become tenable.
She's sliding 3 mana over to the side. Yeah, and here's the test right now.
Well, this is the thing. If you're in Steven Mann's spot, if you think that she's got a spell to follow up with, you have to counter this.
Yeah.
If not, you might be able to let it go. And I guess Steven assessing that the risk is too high.
It's just too scary of a card, I think. Because it's interesting. I don't know if that card's going to play a big role on this particular turn, but it's the next turn. And we're going to play 2 or 3 more turns.
Right.
Where that card is obviously very, very scary, and the damage adds up quite a bit. Well, Stubborn Denial is going to take care of it. Trigger from the Rabble Master. Perhaps another Stoke the Flames here. That's what it looks like. It's going to clear out something. Perhaps this goes to the dome. Though Man is tapped out now, so God's Willing is not in the equation. And it is a good thing that he countered that Jeskai Ascendancy, because this would have been a horrible turn.
This would have been a disaster.
Here, Viros is going to bite the dust. Seeker of the Way looks like it's heading to the red zone now. It's a 4-4 prowess and lifelink. So 4 damage going to be dealt. Man's going to go down to 17. Klomparens going to go up to 18, so long as she did remember all the triggers, which it looks like she did. So we're going to head back Man's way. Still an uphill battle here for Steven. Defiant Strike the draw. He will cast it. The question is what he'll be targeting.
I'm intrigued by the route that Jadine took last turn, because he could have tapped a token, a soldier token, a land, and 2 tokens to go ahead and stoke, and that would have allowed her to attack with a Rabble Master. I'm not sure if she's just trying to keep the Rabble Master out of combat, or if she wants the maximum number of blockers back for the favorite Hoplite, but that felt like a spot where she may be able to squeeze in 2 extra points of damage.
Could come back to haunt her a little bit. We're definitely in a racing game.
For sure.
And every point matters, especially when you're playing against Heroic. There's Defiant Strike, trigger. Little scry here. That top card's going to go to the bottom for Steven. Does not like what he sees. So now the strike will resolve. He'll draw a card. It's a copy of Hero of Heroes. And one of those is trying to get in front of a Rabble Master. It's been trying for 2 games now.
Yeah. Remember, Strass Walk is saying no defense, so Steven's just attacking and hoping he can chump block or gain life through this.
It's going to be an attack for 8. You got 5 counters, plus a 2-2, plus the 1 for Defiant Strike. And now there is Hero of Iroas, and it's a passing of the turn. 17-10. It's hard to say who the game is in favor of right now.
I think if Jadine has spells, she's a huge favorite. If her hands just lands, it's close. But if she's got anything going on, I think she's got a big edge.
As I say, the situation here is she's hoping it's not Jeskai Charm, and I'm afraid I've got some bad news. It is Jeskai Charm. +1/+1 and lifelink to everything makes this game almost unwinnable now for Steven.
Yeah, the combination of this and the Seeker of the Way hits have just swung the race too much, even though Steven Mann was able to successfully get off Ordeal of Heliod. This is just too much.
And not only is Jadine going to deal a lot of damage, but her Goblin Rabble Master is going to live through this combat. Favorite Hoplite's going to die. Hero of Irosa is going to die. And she's going to gain a boatload of life. It's a great turn. It's a great card in this situation. It's a tough card for Heroic to beat.
Yeah. Especially alongside the creatures, which are already so problematic.
Klomparens with just 1 card left, but I'm not convinced she's going to need it. It's 5-30 in favor of Jeskai tokens. Man will draw a card. It's a copy of Stubborn Denial off the top of the deck. It's a little bit too late, and that is going to do it. Jadine Klomparens is going to win this match here over Steven Mann. Jeskai tokens will take care of White Blue Heroic, and for Jadine, she's 9-1.
Really impressive display there by the Jeskai token deck, and just goes to show you how much better both of these decks are playing offense than defense.
Yep.
Jadine's draw has just had a little more meat to them, just better creatures, Seeker of the Way, and more removal.
And really what that is just kind of a demonstration of the kind of pressure this deck kind of puts on you too. You know, it contorts the way that you play. When there's a Goblin Rabble Master out there, you're all of a sudden have to change the way that you play because you can't afford to just take a hit or 2 from that card.
No, it's way too much damage. And Steve's list is trying actually to have a better beatdown matchup than we typically see, with 2 copies of Ordeal of Heliod in the main deck and then a 3rd copy in the sideboard. And in fact, Ordeal of Heliod came up that game. He was able to get his 2 successfully trigger, gain a bunch of life, deal some more damage, but that just wasn't enough to swing the damage race sufficiently in the face of Goblin Rabble Master and Seeker of the Way.